All right, let's do it live on a Reaction Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am Merely Bowe. He is the great Z. A very newsy day here around the National Football League and especially here in Berea. It's been a while since you and I have had to do one of these on a Monday at the end of the regular season, and the reason for that is Kevin had a 6-year run here. Everybody obviously by now knows what certainly happened. There are personal sides of this. You hosted his show for all of these years, obviously, and have probably talked to him more than anybody. Not probably, have talked to him more than anybody in the media. So there's that. There's a personal aspect to this, too. We continue to do this show from here in the building. So I did his show for the first couple of years and got to talk to him quite a bit and enjoyed him personally. Would see his kids on the youth sports scene all the time and would always small talk with him when we were out and about. And that there's part of that, too. Then there's the business of the league, and there's trying to make sense of all of it, and that's our job over the next couple of hours, my friend, as I turn to you on a day we haven't had to do in a while.
Yeah, out of practice. When I first started with this organization, I did one in 13 going into 14. I did one in 15 going into 16. I did one in the middle of 18. I did one in 18 going into 19, 19 going into 20, and then not again. And it's a sad day, honestly. It is a very sad day. It is a bittersweet day. Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. Kevin Stefanski is a great human being, a great coach. There are a lot of guys who in this building today expressed how unhappy they were that they didn't do enough in terms of winning for Kevin Stefanski to still be their head coach. Guys who have been around, like a guy like Shelby Harris, certainly gave a very incredibly strong endorsement of him. And I've got an opportunity to get to know him, to be a friend with him, to play golf with him, to work with him in his foundation, the Keepers Foundation, and host those 2 big events that he's done since he launched his own foundation. It's really sad because this is such a binary business, but it is still a very human business. And the reality is winning 8 games in the last 2 years is not good enough. And the reality is that there are probably many directions and many people who hold responsibility and culpability in that. And when you're the head coach of a football team, unfortunately, the buck stops with you. And so a decision was made that, what we've done the last couple of years, could not continue. And so the decision was made to relieve Kevin Stefanski of his coaching duties. Again, the guy's a 2-time Coach of the Year. He can coach. He clearly had the respect and maintained throughout the entirety of his tenure the respect of his locker room, and you can see that in the evidence. They went out and beat the Steelers in a game that the Steelers treated like a playoff game, and then went to Cincinnati and beat the Bengals. If we've seen plenty of times here or other places where a team is like, we're done, you're done, we know you're done, we're done, and you just get boat race left and right, and it's a debacle. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the Jets, for example, but that feels like a situation where they're just like, we're not interested. We're good
down the road,
So that's good. He is going to be a hot candidate. He will be a head coach again in the National Football League probably soon, probably within the next couple of weeks would be my guess, or an OC of a very prominent team. And I think it's, the 2 things can be true, that, you needed to, that he is an excellent coach, and that a change needed to be made here because, unfortunately, the results have been what the results have been. I'm sad about it. I liked Kevin Stefanski a great deal. He is the one coach you're right. In fact,
I don't think it's close.
No, and he's the coach that I've talked to the most by a wide margin.
6 years.
I've never had anybody here for more than 2.5 prior to 6 seasons with Kevin Stefanski and doing that weekly Kevin Stefanski show and all the various other times I've gotten to speak with him throughout the year. And we developed, like I said, a very nice friendship. It's funny, he is a different guy than a lot of you guys know. And I think that, as time goes on and perhaps he gets to do this again, I think you'll see more of that from him. But he's a great dude. He can be fiery. He's funny. And it's a bummer because he brought, we hadn't been to the playoffs. He brought 2 playoff appearances, a playoff win, something we had not done in a quarter century here to the Cleveland Browns. But at the same time, we've only won 8 games the last 2 years. And, he hasn't had one normal season in 6 from a quarterback perspective. There are a lot of things that have gone sideways for him, really. Or at least COVID, the one year he did have a normal quarterback situation where it's COVID and all those rules, and thinking about how crazy that was back in 2020. But yeah, it's a sad day. And now, though, it's about moving forward, and it's about trying to figure, this thing out. And Kevin Stefanski, I think, was loyal to maybe even to a fault at times throughout his tenure here. But that's why he has so much respect, and he has respect of everybody in this building. And I actually got to by dumb luck, I guess, as timing had it, I was with him as he took his final steps out of this building. And it's just, it's crazy when you think about in this particular business that, you got the four Haslams that run everything, and Jimmy and D and JW and Whitney. You had Andrew, you had Kevin. Those would be the six most on a football area. I think you got Jenks, obviously, but you're talking about like on two hands the top people in this organization. And when you're the head coach of the football team, you're on the one hand. For 6 years, he was that guy and was here probably every day for 6 years. And he walked out, got in his car, and he's never going to come back here.
That's it.
And
it's the human side of it, right?
It's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And look, we haven't won the way we've wanted to win. And so this is, change can be good. And now, as Jimmy Haslam said earlier today, the next 120 days are the most important in this, franchise's current history, because you've got to find that coach. You're going to have the combine. You're going to have free agency, and you're going to have a draft where you've got 2 picks in the first round. You're going to have 3 of the top 40 picks.
Yep.
And you've got to get this going. And so I certainly will miss him. You can see, there have been coaching transitions in my time here that were very unceremonious. The Haslams expressed a great deal of gratitude for what he's done. Andrew Barry did as well. And Kevin got to be involved in the statements. Like there are things that you can tell that this was done. It was painful to those who ultimately made the decision, and it was done with the utmost class and respect for a guy that has been productive and been, quite frankly, more productive than anybody has been here in recent memory. The 2-time Coach of the Year speaks for itself. But now it's on, and so now the task is to, and we've been told that Andrew Barry will lead this coaching search committee, and to find that guy that can put this all together and give the best fans in sports the winning franchise that they deserve.
You mentioned the respect that was given on this move that was made. I don't know that I've seen this. Now, you've done this more than me. I don't know that I've seen a statement. Was this was released by us?
Yes,
Kevin's
today.
Statement by us.
Yes, that was part of the press release this morning.
I've never seen outgoing coach have a statement by the team. I've never seen that before. Kevin's statement reads, "After 6 seasons as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, I leave with an immense sense of gratitude. When I arrived in January of 2020, this organization, this community, and Browns fans embraced me and my family with open arms. Can't express properly in words how good we have been treated. A sincere thank you to everyone I have been so blessed to work for and with over these last 6 seasons. I'd like to especially thank my coaching staff and the players who did everything that was ever asked of them. They fought through injury and adversity while always putting the team first. I wish you all nothing but success." I hadn't seen that. You rarely see it. I mean, There's now 6 jobs open, right? Do I have them all? And I haven't seen that anywhere else.
No.
College or pro, I've never seen that. So that tells you a little bit about what he did here and how this was all handled. He really a lot of our fans don't realize this part of it, but he threw himself into the community as much as possible. I mean, he would go to St. Edward basketball games. Like I would see him at youth games, like I mentioned with my oldest son and his oldest son. They lined up and we played against him a lot through the years. And so he was at all that stuff. He loved going to baseball games, loved to eat. There's restaurants that were his favorite places. Like all of these things, he really put himself all into the community. Yeah, absolutely. And so now, and Mr. Haslam talked about the next 120 days, and you think about what this team is going to need to get done in the next 120 days to flip this thing back in the right direction. And even and we'll play Andrew's press conference, and we'll play Mr. Haslam's press conference as well. But there is there are a couple of things in this line in Andrew's release where he talks about the most turbulent part of our strategic pivot and transitional period that Kevin helped get them through this part of it and led through that part of it. That theoretically was what this last season was, what the last couple of seasons were. And now there's a strategic, we've been in the middle of this. And even Mr. Haslam talked about this summer when he said this is a bit of a transition phase for our team. And that's what this last year was. Well, now, in order for that transition to turn into winning, that's where the next 120 days comes in. That's where free agency comes in. We have massive needs on the offensive line. We have massive leads at weapon. There's a quarterback situation that, is there clarity on that?
No.
Who knows where all of that stands? So you want to talk about critical next days, weeks, minutes. We're there now, and you need to find somebody who can lead through all of that. That will be the job of the next guy, whoever replaces Kevin Stefanski, and it's going to be a big job. And I would imagine that, and I think Andrew even mentioned this in his availability about having someone who sees it the way he sees it. All of those things, you've got to row all in the same direction the next 3 months.
And we know that even that's not enough. I mean, I think that this was a tough day, and Andrew Berry got emotional at points in his press conference today about it because they were rowing in the same direction. They were joined at the hip. They were in lockstep, and it did not work out for the Cleveland Browns. And you're right. I mean, you have got to get somebody that comes in here. And I think, when you look at the coaching search, which will begin at once. Actually, let's hear from Jimmy Haslam on that coaching search that is going to begin. It's in fact, I know it is underway as we speak.
Yeah.
The next 120 days are crucial for the organization, okay? We've got to find the right head coach. We've got to be efficient again in free agency. We have 10 draft picks, including 2 number ones. We have 4 picks in the top 3 rounds, okay? And we've got to get really good players who are really good people again. We've got to be opportunistic if trade opportunities come along. We are solely focused on having a great 120 days so we can start winning games around here.
And so when you come down and you kind of look at the teams and look at the guys in the National Football League, or the coaches, right, that are successful, there are 3 kind of buckets of coaches that I think are successful in this league. There are what I would call like the force of personality, culture tornado guys. And I'm not going to list everybody who fits into each of these buckets, but just kind of like as an idea. So that's kind of when I go through the other buckets, you'll know they know X's and O's, but like that would be like the Harbaughs. That would be a Dan Campbell. That's a Tomlin, probably a Vrabel.
Yep.
And Vrabel might be, there's a third bucket, which I'll get to, that we could argue all day who actually deserves to be in that third bucket. The second bucket is these guys are just superior with their scheme, and they're great, play callers or defensive play callers, whatever that is. And those are guys that can have a lot of success. And, there are guys that I'm going to list in these first 2. I'm just using examples that probably belong in number 3, which is the ultimate, right?
By the way, the second one, this is where Kevin came from. Was
yes,
the second,
100%.
Second silo.
100%. And then there's, I don't know enough about the going-ons behind the scenes, but this could be like a Kevin O'Connell. This could be a Ben Johnson. This could be where a Liam Cohen fits in, although they've shown signs that they would be in this third bucket. But I'm just saying, in case maybe
they were hired on that bucket.
Yeah, maybe this is a McDermott. Maybe it's a McDonald up there in Seattle as a defensive guy.
Yeah.
And then you have what would be kind of just like the ultimate guys, which are their scheme savants and their culture tornadoes. And so they demand everything. And there were guys that I listed in the first or second who certainly could be in that one, but that would be like a McVay, an Andy Reid, Kyle. And KOC could be in there, Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen. Maybe that's where they end up getting.
Dan Campbell might be in there.
Yeah, Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Right? Like
for
those
sure.
guys.
For sure.
And so... And you could say maybe Sirianni belongs in there because of what he's been able to navigate, and he's won his Super Bowl as well. But that's kind of, those are the buckets of success. So you're making your hire, you're looking for somebody that either this leadership culture tornado guy, somebody who's just a scheme stud, and people follow them because their scheme's so good. And then the sweet spot, what you want is where you win Super Bowls or are perennially loaded, is you have that guy that is. And you also have a quarterback. It's no surprise that, Now, Kyle's made a quarterback out of thin air. Sean Payton has elevated Bo Nix clearly. McVay has taken Stafford from being what he was to a potential MVP and a Super Bowl winner. And then Andy Reid has got the best out of McNabb, and obviously he's done well with Alex. All of them. But that's the bucket that you ultimately want to get in, and that's probably that's the rarefied air. That's where Belichick lived. That's where you go to the great coaches of all time.
But the first bucket, I think you grow. I'm sorry, the third bucket, I think you grow into that.
Of course,
I think you're either the first or the second to get hired, and then the great ones turn into that.
Yes,
like nobody's that right away. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you may turn into that.
Sure.
And you get there.
Yep.
But it starts with one of the two buckets, and then like you have KOC in bucket 2, which I think is correct, but I think he might be in one. I think he might
so
be
too.
in 3.
Yeah, I think so.
You know
too.
what I mean? Like
yeah.
But was he that right away? No, probably not. But he turned into it.
Right.
And same thing with Kyle. Kyle got the job because he's brilliant offensively as an offensive mastermind. But as you always say, he's a gangster and he's a leader. And McVay became that.
Yes.
Same with Harbaugh in Baltimore. He was a special
Harbaugh,
teams coordinator.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Harbaugh, that too. Like he became, you become that. Initially you're here and then you turn into that.
Yep. And some of your success gives you the cachet to
absolutely.
be that,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, like Liam Cohen, nobody would have had him in he was definitely in the second silo.
For sure.
But it looks like he might be.
And Ben Johnson kind of gives that vibe that
Same.
he might be in that kind of a silo. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's obviously, this is just a small sampling, but that's what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody that has, for sure, one of those two and then can get into bucket 3. And the question that you really have to just ask yourself as you go through the search is, are we a team that we feel as a young team, is it that we need, a guy that's more of a bucket 1 guy or a bucket 2 guy that ultimately can be a bucket 3 guy? Because when you're a bucket 3 guy, then that's when you have it all. And you're right, Kevin definitely started in 2, and I think at times getting what he got out of here dipped into the third bucket. But unfortunately, we have just not had that sustained success, and we haven't had the reality is you look at the great coaches in history, and they all had great quarterbacks, and we just have not, for whatever reason, been able to have that. So it's tough, but that's the job right now, is to find somebody that is aces in one of the two and come here. And then the real question, I think, and the question that Andrew Barry and the search committee has to ask themselves is, okay, given our roster and given the fact that we're a young roster, and then given the fact that we are right now quarterback question marks, right? Did Shador ultimately show enough that whoever is this new coach is going to say, yep, we're all in, we're going with him? Deshaun Watson is still here. Is a guy like a Malik Willis, is there a free agent quarterback out there that you like? Is there a quarterback that you is stuck as a backup that you think could be your answer, and that might be a Mac Jones in San Francisco if they would be willing to part with him? So you have to kind of simultaneously figure out here. And then there's clearly the desire. They did not say it's a mandatory, but there is the desire, I think, to keep Jim Schwartz and this defensive staff here, because how would that not be an asset to anybody? If you think you can figure out how to score, when it was clear that we're going to address the offense this offseason, why wouldn't you want to have a guy that's perennially been a top defensive coordinator and that with this personnel and guys who are brought here that are perfect scheme fits like a Tyson Campbell and a Malik Collins who made immediate impacts? Why wouldn't you want to keep that here? Mm-hmm. So those are the two things that kind of, are the biggest things facing this organization is, what is that style that we're looking for in a coach? Is there somebody out there that they think has bucket 3 traits immediately, and what's the quarterback situation, the coach's perception of that quarterback situation, which would then, I would think, ultimately guide, where we go on that. And so that's what this is going to be about. And we're going to hear, we're going to start to get to the names and, the coaches that potentially could be on that list. And we can jump into that, as this show goes on. But, for example, the Falcons, for example, have already reached out to Clint Kubiak, the Seahawks OC. Yeah. That's a name that you're going to hear a lot. You're going to hear the name of, the LaFleurs, especially if Matt gets if Green Bay loses in the first round and gets blown out of Green Bay, he is going to be a top candidate. His brother, Mike LaFleur, who is down in with the Rams as the OC down there with the Rams, is somebody that would be, get looked at. If anything were to happen with a Harbaugh or a Tomlin, of course, those are guys that are going to get looks around the league. So there are a lot of potential names out there, and there are going to be more and more added. That was not nearly a comprehensive list.
No.
There are going to be tons and tons of names added to this. and we'll see how that plays out. But they have to. I think you almost have to decide. Because everybody they're all football coaches, so they're all going to have they're all going to know scheme. But you have to decide, like, is the guy that I'm going with, am I going with it because I feel a culture guy that we need a culture reset here, we need a more accountability, we need whatever the word is that you're focused on.
Yeah.
Is that what we need? And then that's got to lead you into a certain direction. Or is it, do we want a guy that's just a scheme beast that's gotten here because they have this, but shows some leadership abilities as well? And that's why this is going to be tough to me. So I think if I look at this organization right now from where I sit, I think culture is incredibly important on the football side. I think understanding that we need to get, and we'll go back, you could play 2024, 2025, me and you, weapons, and address this offense and that offensive line. I think and then obviously the quarterback is kind of tied into that and how that all looks. If you can hit these things, I think that we can turn this around very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
And so that's the task right now. And so does that lead you to maybe more of a bucket one over a bucket two coach? Possibly. Mm-hmm. I think that anybody you do hire there would have to be a strong case that they could be made that they could fit in bucket one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I would agree.
And then you think about, there's a Halfley, if it's a defensive guy that could, work here. There are a lot of names out there. There's a lot of names out there. And there's guys that we know that they've interviewed before. We've seen Mike McCarthy walking these halls, guys who have been not out of it, but have won wherever they've been. I don't know about your phone, but my friend John Gruden. I don't know if John Gruden's even a candidate, but that certainly would be a culture tornado. There's no doubt about that.
There's none. No doubt. No doubt.
So I think it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how this all plays out. And I'm sure there are hot names that are in NFL circles that we don't necessarily, know about per se.
Sometimes they come out of nowhere too. Like sometimes 100%. A guy from college ends up in the NFL and out of nowhere. Those type of things can happen too. So you just aren't sure how all of this could shake out. But obviously a big day with the termination of Kevin Stefanski as he has been relieved of duties as your head coach of your Cleveland Browns. Those are your hot topics today. They're presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Coming up next, you're going to hear from the owner of your Cleveland Browns, Jimmy Haslam. You'll hear from Andrew Berry as well. We have a game to break down. It is a Victory Monday edition of the program as well, so we'll get into the game a little bit later on as the program goes along. That happened yesterday down in Cincinnati. We're off and running. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly on 850 ESPN Cleveland. More fun to your fandom of the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today. Get 50 back in bonus bets. You place your first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to head to the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats, purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. Here's your owner, Jimmy Haslam.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Personnel decisions, particularly with people at the top of an organization, are always difficult. And I can tell you, having made a lot of these over the years, that this was as difficult as any we've ever had to make because of the quality of the person involved. Organized, worked hard, navigated our ship for 6 years through the inevitable ups and downs that we face in the NFL. Outstanding father and husband. And I think even you all who are around a lot probably underappreciate how much time we all spend together. And there's nothing more fun than winning an NFL game like we did the last 2 weeks, beating our arch rival, the Steelers, 2 weeks ago, and then winning yesterday on the last play of the game and seeing the joy in the locker room. And there's nothing more distasteful than losing an NFL game. And it's finite. You either win or you lose. And Kevin did a lot of good things here over his time period with us. It was an extremely difficult decision we made, and I shouldn't say I have no doubt, I would be highly optimistic that Kevin will be a head coach again in the league. Now I want to turn our attention and talk to our fans, okay? And I want you to hear this, okay? First of all, ownership takes full responsibility for where we are. To win 8 games in 2 years is horrible. It's totally unacceptable, okay? And it's not going to continue, okay? And I want the fans to know we are as frustrated as you are, and we hear a lot from our fans, which we actually appreciate. We have great fans. They're extremely passionate, and they deserve better than what they've gotten the last 2 years, okay? No, I don't need to say anything else. We are going to give you a better product. Our sole goal here is to be a consistent winner, not make the playoffs in 20 and then make it again in 23, not win 8 games in 2 years. That's not what we're trying to do. That's not acceptable. Our fans deserve better. We'll start the head coach search literally this afternoon. Andrew Berry will lead that effort. Key members of his organization as well as ownership will be involved in the process. You all have been through these processes before, and I think we have a good plan laid out. I want to comment on Andrew because I know there's questions out there, well, why didn't you change both of them? Or why didn't you change Andrew and not Kevin? And I would say this, I think Andrew, over the last year, has done a very good job. And I want to go through that because I think it's important to talk about the moves he made to strengthen our team, okay? I think it began with what I would call a very efficient free agency. We added one player, and that player made a substantial difference in our football team, and that was Malik Collins. And Malik is not only a really good player, he's a really good person who is a leader on our defense, a leader in the defensive line room. Andrew negotiated a trade a week or two before the draft started, in which we added 3 draft picks, 2 last year, a second and a fourth or a fifth, and a first this year, okay? Then I think we had one of the better drafts that we've ever had. I think we added 4 really good football players who were either first team all-rookie or second team all-rookie, and I think Carson has a really good chance to be the NFL Rookie of the Year, defensive Rookie of the Year. I think what's important to understand about our rookies, though, and you all see them, you all know them, they're not only really good players, they're really good people. And they will be the cornerstone with which we'll build and grow and develop this winning team. But I think it would be short-sighted to not just look at free agency, not just look at the draft, but also to look at a couple of other moves Andrew made. We have struggled to have a consistent place kicker here really the whole time we've earned the team. And I guess the way we started this year, you'd say, well, it looks like you're continuing to struggle. Our grandsons were at the game, and we were coming back to Cleveland last night, and I said, Andre Schmidt is a great lesson of when you fail, pick yourself up, persevere, and good things will happen. And the signing of Andre and bringing him on, holding with him that first week when everybody was saying you need to cut him, you need a new kicker, I think we've hopefully solved our place-kicking woes for a long time. Quality person, the team believes in him, and we're glad to have him. And then lastly, I think something that's underappreciated was the Tyson Campbell trade. Tyson is, here again, a really good player and a really good person. And I think all you need to know about Tyson is he has been playing with a bad shoulder for several weeks. We were unsure if he's going to be able to play, got hurt in the first half. He went in, got treatment, came back and tried to play in the second half of a game where we were trying to win our fifth game. It wasn't like we were trying to make the playoffs. I think this year we not only added, and I'm repeating myself on purpose, really good players, but also really good people. And I think that core that Andrew has put together this year will help move us forward. We hope to have similar results this coming year.
We'll take a couple questions.
Yeah, let me just say this. One thing, Peter. The next 120 days are crucial for the organization, okay? We've got to find the right head coach. We've got to be efficient again in free agency. We have 10 draft picks, including 2 number ones. We have 4 picks in the top 3 rounds, okay? And we've got to get really good players who are really good people again. We've got to be opportunistic if trade opportunities come along. We are solely focused on having a great 120 days so we can start winning games around here. All right, I'll take questions.
Jimmy, did Kevin have any chance when he came in this morning to save his job based on the fact that he's had some really challenging quarterback situations, especially this year?
You know, I don't think those decisions are made over – I think those decisions tend to be made over a period of time, and I'll leave the conversations we had with Kevin between us because I think he deserves that respect.
Jimmy, will Jim Schwartz be a candidate for the head coach?
You know, we haven't looked at that yet. I would say this. We think a lot of Jim Schwartz.
Jimmy, less than 6 months ago, you gave Kevin Stefanski and Andrew very big shows of support. You said that you need to rebuild the foundation of the team, and you also said that you would give Kevin the opportunity to work with a quarterback. Obviously, 5 wins might not, in your eyes, wasn't better, wasn't good enough. But what was the breaking point, especially given your comments?
I don't think there was one breaking point. I think you got to look at the body of work, and sometimes it's just time for a change, and we felt like it was time for a change.
Did you think the roster was good enough to win more games this year?
You know, it's easy for me to say yes. So, yeah, I think it was good enough to win more games.
What feedback did you get from players when you talked to them about Kevin, and how much did you weigh that into?
We take into account a broad array of comments, thoughts, data, et cetera, when making a decision like this.
Jimmy, how much do you think, to use your words, the swing and miss on Deshaun Watson affected Kevin's ability to win, and the way the offensive line and wide receivers were sort of neglected over the last 6 years?
Well, I mean, I don't think we need to cover it again. I mean, I said it, when you trade for a player and you give up 3 number ones and 2 number threes, that really depletes your ability to raise the roster. So did it have impact? Yes.
Jimmy, do you think the alignment between Barry and Stefanski suffered this year?
No,
the coach
no,
said he
no.
didn't know you were trading Joe Flacco. How does that happen?
Let me say this, and some of you said this is a dysfunctional building. I take huge exception to that. The 2 of them work just like this, okay? And they talk all the time. Their offices are basically next door to each other. I mean, is there tension in the building? Of course. I mean, this is a hard business, and there's lots of stuff going on. But the 2 of them work together extremely well, extremely well.
Why would the head coach be surprised that it started?
I can't comment on that one thing, Tony, but if anybody says this is dysfunctional or those 2 of them did not work well, that's dead wrong.
Do you feel like this organization is close enough that next year you'll be able to turn it around, or how far out?
Well, let's see what happens over the next 120 days, okay? There are a lot of examples of teams going from last to first in the NFL. So do I think we have the core of a team? Yes. Do we have work to do in rebuilding the roster? Absolutely.
We're going to go 2 more.
The quarterback of the future?
I'm not going to get into specifics. We have a lot of work to do on the roster, particularly on the offensive side of the roster.
What are you looking
Scott, and then Mary Kay.
What are you looking for in the next coach?
I think it's a really good question. The leadership required out of a head coach in the NFL, it's one of the tougher leadership jobs I've ever seen. So they've got to be a good leader. I think they've got to be smart in terms of IQ, EQ, and football acumen. And obviously, they're going to bring expertise on one side of the ball. We do not have bias on whether they should be from the offense or the defense.
Good?
Good. Thanks.
Do you want Schwartz to remain with the organization?
Absolutely. Great coach. All right.
All right, there you go. Our owner, Jimmy Haslam, from earlier this morning. You heard that at the end there. Jim Schwartz, absolutely. Who wouldn't? You mentioned that earlier. He talked about leadership at the end in terms of who is next on this job. Also spoke to the reason that Andrew was retained, and we'll have that press conference for you in a little bit there. When you hear Mr. Haslam talk there, what jumps out?
Well, obviously, it kind of, again, there was talk about leadership and culture a lot. I think we've heard about that. And so when we kind of went through that opening segment and lined up the different styles of coaches that there are and kind of what we're looking for, it does feel to me like culture, the offense, quarterback, those are the big things. But from the coaching search standpoint, that culture is going to be very important, that this has to be somebody that is a cultural leader and force, obviously, in this organization. And I think I do think that is a very, very important thing with a young roster right now, and a roster that is, trying to build up. You go back to even when Dan Campbell went into Detroit, that's what they were, and it was rough at first.
Yeah.
But they weathered that storm, and then they built something that was pretty good. Now you wonder where they go now in Detroit, but that's their issue, is they didn't make the playoffs this year, not ours. Let's get to that point where we're talking about those types of things. The other thing, and the question about the surprise, I think I'm stunned that this is still even being a talking point. Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, and if you listen to this show, you knew it. And by the way, if you listen to Kevin Stefanski show that week, you knew it then, because I talked about it with him on that program. He was not surprised. It wasn't like, oh my God, I just got a text message. We traded Joe Flacco to the Bengals. What? I didn't even know that was a possibility. No, the surprise was that at that point, somebody's called and said, trade us. We're going to give you a 5 and you're going to trade us Joe Flacco, because it just wasn't something that was necessarily on anybody's radar. That was the surprise. This wasn't a move that was done in secret. They were in lockstep. They were very much involved in all decisions together. So that was just one thing I wanted to make sure that people understand that, because I was actually very surprised that, given what's actually going on here, that was a question that was asked. And number two, that it's still not understood what the reality of that situation was, because it has been discussed.
We laid it out this week, and then you asked Kevin on the show.
On the show. Point
literally on the show.
It's like with their script. It's not like, hey, here comes the questions. We have a conversation every week, and that was one of the questions, because it became such a bigger thing than it actually was.
Yeah. Yeah, that one is always an interesting one when that one keeps getting brought up. All right, we will talk a little bit about the game and the record that was broken yesterday down in Cincinnati. We will get to that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, under normal circumstances, this would have been a full-throated Victory Monday Let's Go edition of the program. You get an NFL record in the middle of it. You won the game 20-18 against your rival. You end the season on a 2-game winning streak.
Pretty sure we'll have a very nice recapping and give this really the due it deserves on a Friday in June.
Oh, I think that's a good point out of you. I think it's a very good point out of you. He's just trying to get through today.
He just went like this. We got 5 of them, baby.
Yeah, 5, baby.
5 alive.
A lot of that is so far out of my.
I do.
He's like, I just got to get to.
I do.
I got to get to some PBR at 6:30.
I
Really
think
where I need to get
a record-setting game.
About 9:30 this morning.
Might deserve a 2 Friday retrospective.
They're probably true. Probably true. 4 hours, perhaps, just to relive some of it.
Maybe we do a whole show just on every sack.
On every sack.
Every sack, the moment before, after.
Did you think he was going to get it? Once we
So-
got to the fourth quarter, when we crossed the Rubicon into the fourth quarter, did you think he would get it?
First of all, great use of Rubicon.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
No, thank you. No, you're right to say you're welcome. Thank you. You're absolutely right to say you're welcome right there. So going into it, I was 100% sure.
Same.
100% sure. And then I'm like, all right, it's a lot of quick throw. He's getting doubled every play. There were maybe 2 pass rushes in the first half where they did not chip with the tight end. Drew Sample was involved on every single one.
Yeah.
And it was like Sample into Orlando Brown, Sample into Orlando Brown. And then I kind of realized, oh, when he's one-on-one, they're running it. And that was basically what it was. It was like quite a good tell. If Drew Sample was not near him, they were running it away from him. Pretty much.
Yep.
Or running it at him and having him, because he was so anxious to get off and get up the field that if he was one-on-one, a lot of times he ran up and then they would wham or trap block the defensive tackle on his side, and then there was a little bit of a lane there.
Yep.
And we get to halftime, and it was clear that I thought they were going to not really alter what they were doing very much. When we lose Denzel and we lose Tyson Campbell, and so now we're down to Sam Webb and D'Angelo Ross on the outside. D'Angelo Ross 5'9". T. Higgins is 6'4".
Yep.
I'm not a math major. That's 7 inches.
Yep.
And they were not just like being like, all right, we're just shotgun throwing it every down. They were still like doing exactly what they were doing when Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell were out there. I'm like, okay, maybe they don't want this. And then I'm like, well, Burrow and he are pretty close. Like, he always sacks Burrow. He sacked him 11 times going in, most of anybody.
Picture of him doing it
right
out
there on that 4th down. So I was like, ugh. So now we go through the third quarter, and and they're on offense the whole time. We're like never on offense.
The whole game, they're on offense.
Yeah. And then the third quarter, we were on offense for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, as somebody who grew up a Mark McGwire fan, and then you go back and you remember when he was like 1 away, he had a few days, and then he finally got, and then he blew it up kind of at the end as him and Sosa, but there was a little bit of a lull there because trying to get that last one when everything you're doing, it's like you can't manufacture it.
No.
And so I got real nervous. And then I was pleased that we were at least ahead because I'm like, all right, they're going to have to throw it. But it still felt like it was going to be, we needed one where there was either a busted play or something. And instead, he just went and got it. And I know that I said something on the call before the call, but I saw him come around. I go, got him. I think I said got him.
Yep.
That's what I think I said. And that one happened in the blink of an eye. And Burrow saw, because there was good push, I think it was from Shelby in front, and he just went down. And Miles got him. And I was like, thank goodness. That was awesome. Then you get the iconic celebration by Miles. Meanwhile, Shelby Harris is high-fiving the ref, which is
it's great,
incredible. And it was a crazy moment. But I wasn't sure. Yes, Gibbe?
So Shelby, I guess, claimed, but he also did that at one point during the Raider game in Vegas.
He high-fived an official. Yeah, I don't know. This one was a more iconic moment because there's a shot.
He's right on it.
He goes,
great.
Oh,
I do that all the time.
There's
and
a
we're like,
shot.
I
I
actually
know you
remember that. I actually remember.
You remember him against the Raiders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember him doing that once before. Yep.
There's a shot on John Costco we've had on this program a great many times on his social media that's from like kind of the end zone where you have Miles celebrating and then Shelby.
That's a great one, yeah.
Mid high five, which is just an incredible.
Looks like it's from the
picture.
All-22 maybe, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just a great picture. So, Yeah, but there was a time when I'm just like,
I just didn't know if
it
Joe,
might not happen.
When we got into the fourth, I really didn't think it would. I thought that they would just kind of go about their business and keep getting it out quick. And there were a couple of times he got near him, but Joe is so good in the pocket of stepping up and extending. There was the one where he scrambled out right, and then he saw him behind him, and then he cut it up and like got down. Like he got near him, and I just thought, I just don't know. Like you need something where plays have to develop, and he was so wide, like wide 9. I mean, he was on the sideline. It seemed like some of those times trying to get the angle. And then the one that he got there, Joe had really two choices: either get smoked or get down. And there was nowhere to go in that particular one. There was nowhere for Burrow to go.
Do you remember the one where Burrow scrambles and he's like, it's very rare that you see somebody in the NFL running forward and looking behind
That's the one
them.
I just referenced.
Yes,
Yeah, when he
okay.
scrambled right
Yeah.
and then he went like this. Yeah,
And
that's the one.
To me, I knew at that point, I'm like, all right, he is very conscious of this.
He knows. Yeah.
Very conscious of this. And Miles, and they did try to move him around at times and try to do some twists and loop him and do those things, and they did honestly a good job. Sometimes they even had Drew Sample kind of in the middle, and he would just slide over when Miles twisted and then would meet him there in those twists. But he was trying to get that wide 9 in the run around, and I'm sorry that I didn't realize that was one of your reference. I was looking at something. But when the NFL is dangerous. When you are running forward and defenders are running at you, which doubles kind of the rate of a collision, to be looking backwards, I was like, okay, he is totally focused on Miles.
And I think that's probably why he got the awkward slide. Do you remember the slide he had on that play?
Oh, I thought he busted
his knee.
Yeah.
I could not believe he slid like that again.
Nothing gets by me on commentary, Bo.
Jeez.
I said
I
that
was
was
like,
that was an abrupt slide that did not look very smooth.
He was not and he slides well like that.
Yeah.
You know, he's an athlete. He knows how to do it. But he was, because of what he's looking over his shoulder, and he did. For him, I did not want him hurt anymore. Like, he's been hurt enough in his career. But yeah, and then Miles got home on the one that Miles got home on. It was really kind of the quintessential Miles sack, because it had the great dip, which he's so famous for now, that ability to bend your body at his size and the way that he is, to get around a guy and to get home in under a second. I mean, it really was the quintessential Miles sack.
So Mina Kimes had this yesterday, and I see that she's a more prolific tweeter than I had realized, because I thought I was going to be able to pull this out.
Isn't that difficult
quickly
when that happens? And you find somebody who tweets like every play of every NFL game, and you're like, that happened to me last week with another one of the ESPN guys. Can't remember who it was, but they're my God,
I found it.
So
I'm
much.
back. According to Next Gen Stats, Myles Garrett had a get off of 0.23 seconds on his record-breaking sack. To put that in context, his average get-off is 0.7 seconds, which leads the league. That's the fastest time recorded by any player on any sack this year. Now, Miles said he did know the snap count, but 0.23 seconds.
That's hard to make sense of, honestly.
No, and I'm just happy, because that had to be such a relief. Such a relief. It would have been, tough to be. He was one sack away with 3 to go.
Yep.
He gets a half, 0, and then got it.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh obviously went out of their way to
So did
give him
Buffalo.
nothing, and Buffalo did too. Both did.
And I really think, to some extent, so did the Bengals, because it makes no sense in a game in which Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell are out that they didn't throw for 400 yards and throw for just not I don't understand why you'd even do it. And now they were running it effectively. That's fine. But I even said in the broadcast, like, if they're going to content to run for 6 yards, I really don't care.
When our corners went out, I was watching with the boys, and I'm like, couldn't you just throw to Jamar Chase whenever you want?
But they could. And the truth is, the numbers would say they did. They just didn't for a large portion of that game. They did not. Jamar Chase finished with 8 catches for 96 yards on 10 targets. T. Higgins, 6 catches, 67 yards on 9 targets. They just, for a large portion of the game, refused to throw those guys the football.
Yeah. It was. I'm so thankful. It was so cool to see it. You've seen the boys went nuts, and I saw the Hoffs kids go nuts and everything. Like,
awesome.
Such a cool thing to finally be able to get it done and to be knocking on the door on it. And it would have been brutal to end up a half sack short.
Totally. Yeah. And so it was great that he did it. It was awesome to see him achieve that. And it was kind of from a Browns standpoint to get you excited about the next season. You get Miles gets a sack. Shador, who did not have a good game. That was a bad first half. Leads you down, though, when you need it the most, leads a game-winning drive. And then Andre Schmidt, who started this season, in many ways cost you the result against the Cincinnati Bengals the first time, hits a walk-off 49-yarder to win the game for you with such a redemption story for him, who really turned into one of the better kickers in the league.
Yes.
As this season went on. I mean, I think he only missed 2 field goals after that and did not miss another extra point all season. The 2 field goals were a 56-yarder in Detroit and I think a 47-yarder in New England. That's it. That's the list. He ended up, in this game, not only to make a 49-yard field goal, he made a 27-yard field goal, and then thanks to some of our shenanigans as we scored defensive touchdowns, he made 2 48-yard extra points.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. It was a fun final game. Fun 2 final games. To beat Pittsburgh, beat Cincinnati to close out the season was a lot of fun. We will relive all of it at much greater length and detail and pick on some of the things that pick up on some of the things that we liked even more from the game tomorrow and a little bit later on in the program. Coming up next, Andrew Barry's moment with the media from earlier today. We will have that for you. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly on 850 ESPN Cleveland. For car, truck, or motorcycle accident, Kyle's due injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to head back to the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats, purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. Here are some highlights from General Manager Andrew Barry's presser from earlier today.
All right. Today's obviously a tough day for the organization. It's a tough day for me personally, largely because of the relationship, both professional and personal, built with Kevin over the past 6 years. I think many of you have heard me say that Kevin's like family. There really isn't a better person. He's the best of us. We all owe him a debt of gratitude and appreciation for a level of success that he brought the organization that really hadn't been achieved since 2002. And that's something that we'll always remember. Coming into this season, we were realistic that, we were a team and a roster in transition. And ultimately, this decision is born from the fact that we've ultimately felt like we did not see enough progress in areas that were controllable, independent of certain game outcomes. Everything that we do is with the idea of bringing a perennial winner to Cleveland. And this decision falls in that bucket as well. There are many tough decisions that we have made that we'll have to continue to make in order to fulfill that promise. And I know how hard it's been for our fans this year. We have a great appreciation for their loyalty, their dedication to the team. I think back to our last home game against Pittsburgh. They were such a huge factor in that game. And then for them to support late in the year, big rival, had everything to play for. It's quite the testament to show how much this team means to them and ultimately what we owe them because of that. So in terms of next steps, really our focus is on identifying and finding, the leader and the partner to bring along this young team as well as the young players that we're going to add in the next several months. So that work is going to be deliberate. It's going to be immediate right after we finish this press conference. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
The impression is that the roster was sufficient to win. Do you feel that way? And when you're talking about the lack of progress, is that because you believe that the players you brought in could have performed at a better level?
Yeah, Daryl, I think it goes back to what I touched a little bit in the opener. Again, we're realistic. I think how you evaluate progress when you're a team that's in transition versus how you evaluate progress for a team that's squarely in their contending window, it's different. I think that's totally fair. How we would think about a season in 2020 or 2021 versus this year, it's different. That's absolutely true. Some of that is outcome driven, but not all of it. And you try and weigh that as best as you can and make the decision that you feel is best for the organization.
Will you guys interview Jim Schwartz for your head coaching job and maybe also Tommy Rees, anybody else in the building? And then if so, what do you see in those guys that would lead you to believe they could be good head coaches?
I'll talk about them individually since you raised two coaches who are on our staff. So first with Jim, Jim's an outstanding football coach. We have a lot of respect for him, a lot of appreciation for him, and he has certainly earned the right for consideration. But that's something that we still have to discuss and obviously discuss with him. And Tommy, he's a very talented young coordinator. He's held in very high regard, not just in college football, but across the NFL. But again, those are discussions that we have to continue to have.
In terms of this search, how important is it this maybe getting somebody with that coaching experience?
Joe, we'll be pretty open-minded. I think there are a number of different archetypes of successful head coaches. I think about Kevin. I think it's easy to forget now that he has, 2 Coach of the Year awards on his mantle, that when he was interviewed first in 2019 and he didn't get the job, and then again, I guess it was 2020 and he did, in both of those cycles, He had no head coaching experience, and we were the only team that interviewed him. And so I think our responsibility is to search far and wide. There are good coaches out there. We've just got to do our homework and find the right fit for us. We'll have no preconceived notions as we go into the search.
Sorry, Andrew, do you have any, whether it's regrets or whatever, just the way the offensive line, the lack of depth there and so on, and then you have rookies behind that line, quarterbacks. I guess two thoughts. One, maybe you could have done a better job bringing the line together, and B, was it too soon to go to the rookies with that? Or?
Terry, it's a good question. I'd say, specifically to, let's say, the offense, it's no secret that that's where we're going to invest most of our resources this offseason. I think the reality of it is a year ago when we decided to make the pivot that we did, you also realize that you're not going to be able to accomplish everything at once for the roster. The offensive line, that's a position group that I do imagine will have a fair amount of turnover as we go into 2026. But we also do feel like it was important this year, and quite honestly going into next year, to give young players snaps if we're ultimately going to build a core and foundation that we need to win perennially.
You talk about finding the right partner. What are the qualities that you think are most important in this next leader for the organization?
Yeah, so I'd say number one, like you hit it. It's not just leadership by position, but I'd say leadership more globally. Because when you hire a head coach, it's someone who has to be able to lead your players, lead your staff, lead the organization, lead through hardship and lead through crisis. And NFL years, they're like dog years. They're really difficult seasons. And that'll be at the forefront because it's first and foremost a leadership position. And then when I say partnership, head coach GM relationship is a lot like a marriage. And you have to work side by side and, fight back to back. And I think that that's really, really important because you have to be aligned in terms of how you're positioning the team.
Do you see enough on Shedeur? Do you think he can be your starter next year, or do you think you should find something not on the roster?
Scott, I think we saw a lot of progress with Shedeur this year. I think that's both mentally, physically, playing the position. He's still very much a work in progress, like many rookie quarterbacks are. But I think we saw some really good things in terms of his playmaking, his accuracy, his ability to extend with his feet. And I think I'd also give him credit, as well as our offensive staff, for bringing him along in terms of his pocket management, his situational awareness and things of that nature. Now, that all being said, we're going to do our work on the quarterback market. It's too important of a position, and it's something that has to be solidified. I can't sit here and tell you today, whether the solution or the starter in 2026 is internal or external, but it's something that we're going to work through, over the next several weeks. And quite honestly, the new head coach will also have a lot of input into that as well.
What do you think of this group of wide receivers that are on this team?
Yeah, listen, I think there's a lot of work that we still need to do on the offense from a personnel standpoint. I think that we have a number of players that will continue to be pillars and are players that will continue to develop and invest in. But the offense is going to have significant investment this offseason, Jeff.
To the defense for a second. I mean, Grant was talking about this a little bit, but obviously there's not a lot of people that run this sort of system.
Yeah.
Jim runs, and these two high safeties have become really popular, all that stuff. I mean, how important is it for you, kind of regardless of team, to keep the defense in this sort of system intact here, given the personnel you guys have added over the last 3 years?
It's a good question, Ashley. I think that number one, I think you hit on a really good theme that, one of the costs of turnover is that players can kind of get caught in transition between scheme to scheme to scheme. We do have a number of players who are maybe a little bit more defense specific or scheme specific, but I'd also say that we have a number of players that are pretty scheme versatile. Ultimately, our thought will be, hey, let's find the right head coach, let's find the right leader, because schemes, they really do come and go. But it is fair to say that we're very pleased with where that side of the ball is. That group is intact, they're under contract, and we really do like the style of play.
Where does Deshaun Watson stand as it pertains to this organization, and do you anticipate him being on the roster in 2026 as it's been reported?
Yeah, Daniel, first I'll say we're very pleased with how Deshaun went through and attacked his rehab this past year, how he engaged with the team, what he did in the meeting rooms. Very pleased with the progress that he made in that regard. Look, I can never predict the future, but right now we do anticipate him being on the 2026 team. But we have a long way to go before we get to that point with any player.
Well, it's indicated that you will lead the search, but there will be others on the committee. Who will they be?
Yeah, Tony, I won't go into specific names. It's a good question, but needless to say, we're going to leverage the expertise across our football operations group. This is an organizational decision. It's not just a singular person who does everything. You're hiring for a position that's going to have such a huge daily and yearly impact on the team, and we want to make sure that we leverage the expertise of many people in our operation as we go through the process.
Jimmy really pushed back on the notion of dysfunction within the organization, and he takes exception to that. I think when the outside looking in, when there's a split where you remain, Kevin is let go, it almost gives off this sense that maybe there was a divide between you two. So I guess what can you say about your relationship with Kevin all the way until the end, up until yesterday?
So Kevin's I've said this 1,000 times. Kevin's like family, and give you a little bit of insight because I've told you all how awesome of a person he is, but I've also told you sense of humor. I know you guys don't always get a chance to see that, but one quick story I'll tell you: as I was driving back from the team flight last night, I was just thinking about what could potentially happen and the decisions that we had to make. I was like, what? I really need to. My kids, they're 8, 6, and 4, and I was like, I really need to tell my kids because every time they're at the facility, he's no longer like Coach Stefanski, coach of the Browns, but rather, giving a Barry kid a piggyback ride or chasing them or tackling them, things like that. And I remember when I told my 4-year-old daughter Eden, I was like, hey, there's a chance that Coach Kevin, he may not be coaching the Browns anymore. And she looked at me and she goes, well, will he play with us still? And I share that story because, when you talk about relationship or partnership, that's a lifelong connection for me and him. It goes beyond football. So if you ask, how was the relationship from the start to how it was today, he's family.
Were there any other changes to the coaching staff made today?
There were not, Scott.
Will you require the new coach to keep anybody on the staff, whether Jim or Tom?
I'll touch what I said a little bit earlier. Ultimately, that'll be the head coach's prerogative. Obviously, we'll have a number of discussions about the existing staff, but that'll be the head coach's prerogative.
All right, there you go. General Manager Andrew Berry from the podium from a little bit earlier today. Coming up next, your great clips is going to be great call of the game. Some thoughts about Week 18 and a Sunday nighter that went down to the final play for the final spot. We'll get to all of that coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, time for your great clips. It's going to be great call of the game. You can probably guess which one it is. Let's have a listen.
Burrow shotgun. Burrow to throw. Here comes Miles. He got him! He got him! There it is! Myles Garrett. Sack number 23. The new single season sack king. And the Browns defense mobs their man at the Cincinnati 45-yard line.
And listen to this crowd. They know they have seen greatness. They know they have seen history. I couldn't be happier for Myles Garrett. He had been so close, and you knew that pressure had to be mounting right there. Finally got a one-on-one, got right around the corner, and Burrow saw him, and down he went. Myles Garrett gets the sack, gets the record, and the team going nuts over there on the sideline. We're all a part of history, Andrew. Great job right there. Great moment. Congratulations, Myles Garrett, the sack king.
23 sacks, a new NFL single-season record. Now Burrow to throw on second and...
Very good. That was very cool to hear. You guys did a great job with that.
Hold on, Gibbe's mad at me on that one. He said I lashade him a little bit. I did. I said got him.
Lashade him a little bit.
Well, do we have? Can we play?
Yeah,
the
play the
beginning
beginning again.
Let's play the beginning again.
I say got him. It sounds like I screamed.
Well, let me
again,
just
okay,
don't.
go.
No leading of the witness. We know you're great at leading the witnesses.
I am very good at it.
Go ahead.
Burrow shotgun. Burrow to throw. Here comes Miles. He got him! He got him!
Okay, so I hear you say got him.
That's what I say.
But I don't hear beyond. I just hear got him.
That's Andrew. Andrew starts screaming and then says got him.
Okay. Did you step on the call a little bit?
The got him was before really the call.
I didn't say you completely lashade him. I just said you
got him.
You lashade him a little bit.
Yeah, that was,
got him.
It was something, though. I mean, I can't imagine from your guys' vantage point because it's something that, like, there started, and especially you guys because you're there and you're involved in the game and you keep waiting for this moment to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And you get into the fourth quarter and you're like, is it going to? Like, I was nervous.
100%.
Like, my God, are we going to? Is this not going to happen because we're not going to allow it to happen?
Were you listening in the fourth quarter?
I was not listening.
I think I know where you're going.
Okay. So right before this, like, I don't know if it was the same series or maybe the series. It might have been the series before.
It was.
He had one where he got really close.
Yeah.
Andrew was going on like a diatribe about the press box food, how terrible it was, how like the idea of what they call, Cincinnati chilies, like on this wet, soggy spaghetti and this gross with like 1.5 pounds of cheese, like
he's right on all those
disgusting.
things. Yeah,
now
it was
we were having a great time. We were laughing. They had tan-colored hot dogs at this game. I mean, it was the most. They were insane looking. He ate
needed
one.
something.
I'm
in
like,
my
are you
stomach.
nuts?
No names.
It were tan, the color of
Siciliano's
khakis.
It's a hot dog. It's already cooked. You're fine.
But why is it tan?
Why is it?
I've seen a lot of hot dogs in my day.
Why were the breakfast sausages tan? I didn't eat any of those.
Oh God, those looked even worse. Those are like tan gray.
They had these omelets that were like sausage mushroom cheese.
Insane.
Clay
Not
comes in and just opens up like a folded over egg, and there's nothing. He's like, "What is?
What
this?"
are we doing?"
So
throws it out.
He was doing like these, and it was hilarious. Like he was killing me. I was
this
laughing.
Is the worst press box food.
Yeah, and he was
I
like,
will find the clip.
Yeah, find it. And he's like, I don't know why anybody would even eat this. And then Miles gets close, and after that play, I kind of joke. I'm like, good thing that wasn't the sack. Like,
right?
Could you imagine if the sack call started with you like railing on like Skyline chili,
Cincinnati food?
Yeah, it would have been
great.
hysterical to me. And by the way, Cincinnati food's great. We had a great meal
The
at
food
Soto.
scene has
we
gotten
had
so
a wonderful
good
time.
there.
I think their downtown actually food area and just all that is actually really nice.
They've kind of crushed all of that.
Yeah.
That whole both
They got
sides.
a
of
nada.
that. Yeah.
They got a nada.
Yeah, they got all their stuffs locked in. They got all the Jeff Ruby joints are down there and ready to go. Those are always
Which is
pretty
elite.
pristine. Those are elite. But even the rest of it is, and very walkable, very navigable. I saw you had sun, which was nice. Now, we had a little bit of sun today, which was good to see it for the first time in about a month and a half. But
this is the one time I
Nice.
could be like, I'm like Gibby. I don't even know what's going on outside.
I don't know
I've been here all day.
It was
We had a little
kind
bit
of
of
dark
sun
when I got here. That's how long it's been.
yeah.
We have Cincinnati is the coldest booth maybe in the NFL. Even when the sun's out and it's 40 degrees, our booth just an ice box.
It was
All right. One other thing
Very
I wanted to
cold.
ask you about that experience. So they took a shot, this is in the third quarter of the game, of an escalator that is going from like the top
Yeah, it's
of it
insane.
to the bottom. And I'm sitting here with NBC watching it, and we're watching the other stuff too. And as I'm watching, I'm like, my God, is that a low railing on that escalator?
Yeah, I can't believe nobody's
I can't
fallen
believe
off.
people don't fall off of that thing all the time. It feels like it's like not even waist high.
It's also insane that it's not branded, like that there isn't like
Of
some
course.
sponsor on it. 'Cause
How
it
did
is an
how did
ISO.
like people coming out of that thing not fall
Well,
out?
I'm pretty sure it was also on the broadcast. And like Siciliano's like, they built the upper deck and were like, hey, there's no way to get up here. Let's put an escalator here.
Well, that's what it kind of
That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
We got to come up with a way. Let's go with the 2-person at
Yeah,
a
it's-
time escalator.
Supposedly it doesn't function well when it's cold. Yeah. We walked in and we're going on our way to the booth. On the interior, in one of the interior clubs, they have the giant support columns that are part of like the support structure of the stadium that are all covered in plywood because they're going to be doing some construction soon.
During the game.
During the game, in season.
It's different, man. It's different. All right, we'll do one thought tomorrow, and we'll go through all of it. But Gibbe is asking for one thought from either Saturday or Sunday's games, then we'll have a little chat about Steelers and Ravens and how the AFC North was won.
Young Gabriel, I feel like, was doing one thought back there for the Saturday games. Nerd. My dad is like, we don't have Super Bowl offensive line. We don't have Super. My dad's done. He's bailing on the Niners, sending me all these like anti-Niners articles. Read this. This is good stuff. I'm like, come on, we gotta believe. Yes, we gotta believe.
We'll never be the Seahawks, Nate.
I know he's not happy. So
Not happy.
That was, I mean, they had been.
We said that
scoring-
though when we picked though. Why were they favored?
Yeah.
Why? Like, what don't we get about this? Why is it that the 49ers are dogs at home, having played the way they played the last 8 weeks, with what was at stake?
By the way, I feel like it had to be
the
a
one
bloodbath
seed
in the scores.
I haven't even looked. I don't even remember what we did, honestly.
I think it
can't
might be.
imagine.
It
was
might
good.
be
It
an
might
O
have
for
been.
the week.
I don't know. But the
No, right. Why were they favored like that?
Why it didn't make sense?
No.
Why that happened the way that it happened? And so yeah, that one was crazy. And then the one for me, I believe I said this when we did the scores on Friday too. I said this Panthers thing is going to go exact. I'm going to tell you exactly how it's going to go.
Yep.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to beat the Carolina Panthers on Saturday, and I'm going to have to watch one game that I don't care about. And then on Saturday afternoon, I'm going to have to watch a second game that I didn't care about, and the Atlanta Falcons are going to beat the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
And sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
It played out exactly the way that I knew it would play out, and so away you go. And so NBC gets his little victory. The Carolina Panthers at 8-9 are the NFC South champions. They will host the Rams, who oddly enough they beat like a month ago.
Yeah.
Which kind of got all of this in
Got this
Carolina,
going.
which got a lot of this stuff going. It was like, wait, how the heck are they going to beat the Rams? And then they did. And so they get this, and this was a team that we practiced with to start the season.
Yeah.
And had our way with them.
Yeah.
And now some of it's that division is what that division is. And that's part of it. But they also had some big time wins. I mean, didn't they beat the Niners too?
Carolina?
Yeah. They beat the Rams. They had
They
one
beat the
other
Niners?
impressive win.
Hold on. Hold, please. I've got it right now. No, the Rams one was the big one. I know that. Let's see. All right, so they start their season off. No, I'm not a Panthers fan.
All right, here you go.
NBC is. All right, they start their season off. They lose to the Jags bigly, lose the Falcons, lose the Cardinals, smoke the Falcons 30-0.
That was a shocking one.
Lose big to the Patriots 42-13. This is when I think your whole thing
This
goes
is
down.
when it happened, yeah.
1
After
and 3.
they lost, they were 1
Beat
and
the
3.
Dolphins 27-24. Beat the Cowboys 30-27. Beat the Jets 13-6. Get boat raced by the Bills 40-9. Beat Green Bay.
That's the one.
16-13. Lose 17-7 to the Saints. So they go 0-2 against the Saints.
That's right.
Beat the Falcons 30-27 in
2-0
overtime.
against the Falcons.
Lose to the Niners 20-9. Beat the Rams 31-28. Lose to the Saints 2017, and what really could have locked it up. Beat the Bucks 23-20. Get smoked by the Seahawks 27-10. Lose the Bucks 16-14, and now they will play the Rams at home.
They
which is where they won
gave
31-21.
380 points. They scored 311, a negative point differential on the season.
And they're the playoffs.
And they're in the postseason. What did you make of last night? Because you had those two games on Saturday, and then you had the game last night that had the impact, and then of course non-direct impact was the Saints and Falcons.
So my knowledge of this game came via watching this morning, watching the highlights. 'Cause I watched the first half.
Yeah.
And I went to bed thinking there's no way the Ravens aren't winning this game.
The idea that the Steelers get all the way down there right before half, and then they go for it on 4th and goal at the 1, which I get it. I understand why you do that, although – the other part of me is like, God, points are so hard to come by for you guys, especially at that point. Just take them when you can get them. You're going to get it right out of half. Now that's a 10.2 drives. You're ahead. Away you go. But whatever. So they go for it. But the play was just stupefying, the play. And Collinsworth, who treats Aaron Rodgers as if he invented football.
Yeah,
he really does. Like, if you, in the first half, he's like, Aaron Rodgers, you got to get an intellect contest with Aaron Rodgers. And no thanks. I mean, like, there's no level of – like, there's just praised him for the whole half of the whole half.
Yeah.
And even he was like trying to come up with the words to describe why Aaron allowed that play to go once the guy went in motion and you had a 2-on-1 blocking on the sprint out.
Yeah.
Like, it was just such a crazy play. So then coming out of that, you're like, okay, well, Pittsburgh's done.
It's done.
There's no way.
Lamar looked good. Derrick Henry looked good. Like, it was done.
Crazy. And then you get all of that action in the fourth quarter where the Steelers go down and score. And then there's not much time for Lamar, but there's enough because they got timeouts.
Yep.
He makes the throw to Likely.
Yep.
And you're like, okay,
it's over.
Game, set, match after the big one from Flowers on the drive before.
Yep.
Where they were all sold out to stop Derrick Henry and he busted him deep.
And how did they have
like,
and then they have a bust to let Calvin Austin get an easy touchdown to take the lead.
Just that the turf monster finally got him.
Ate him. Yeah.
Yeah, it just ate him up and he fell on the double move. But then to miss that field goal, and so Pittsburgh at 10-7. Last week they're running Tomlin out of there. Now they're 10-7. They win the division with a team that is nothing.
Yeah,
they're gonna have trouble against Houston.
Oh yeah, they're
with that defense.
Yeah,
but like
they're not in danger of doing.
I
much.
wouldn't think, but who knows?
Can't believe he missed that kick.
Oh, 44-yarder, man.
And by the way, I've watched the whole Tirico call. Mm-hmm. The setup was amazing. How they went around and interviewed kickers, and they thought he had the mental makeup for moments like this. And the story that the priest had blessed that end zone.
Yeah, Steelers priest
blessed that particular end zone.
Yeah,
unreal. Misses it wide right. Just
never really had a chance. I mean,
it was off. He blocked it.
It's exactly.
Seen that go? He blocked it.
Blocked it straight over.
Blocked
there.
it right. Yep. Gibbe.
Can I interest you in part 1 of the following? Kevin hit it.
Myles Garrett's gone 135 snaps since his last sack. CBS just put that on the screen.
I was going to say, that was impressive. The impressive pull right there.
Thought I had that? No, I read it off the TV.
Well, nonetheless, you don't have to reveal. You don't have to tell them how the sausage is made.
Fans at home are looking at the TV as well. That was a game.
I don't know how the sausages were made here in this press box. I'll tell you that.
Let me tell you something. There's one thing I know for certain in life is that I will never eat the food in this press box. 2nd and 8 from the 11. Burrow, busted play. He's going to run into the left, and Burrow is going to get good yardage and run out of bounds across the 20.
And now, part 2.
Say this about the press box food here. Hey, listen, I'm all for free food. I do not get why people at halftime line up for this slop. I mean, it is a mountain of shredded cheddar cheese on top of bad spaghetti sauce and sloppy spaghetti. Burrow to throw. Burrow up in the pocket. Gets it out right as Myles gets to him. It's caught by Chase Brown on the check down. He lowers his shoulder and spins away from a Jerome Baker tackle.
That's the one that was close.
Where's the? Isn't that where I say? Do you have the follow up to that? Because I think I said, could you imagine if that was the the one you're leaning off talking about? Soggy spaghetti.
He's right on all fronts.
Yeah,
he's not wrong. It just was
hilarious. Yeah, and I'm right. You don't have to reveal how the sausage is made. He says on TV. They're listening to us. There's the people who do this. I love. I have a great affection for the people who watch the TV and sync us up. And I know people have done that since. Obviously with Jim and now with us, and so I appreciate all the people who do that. But that is, I would say, that's a hardcore segment of the population.
Yeah, I would assume
a lot of people are in
majority
their cars
are in their cars.
Yeah, so it's just a great pull right there. Dynamite drop. Just let it go.
There were a couple from last week's Steeler game we didn't even get.
Yeah, there's some good. I do think if you that last one, if it goes after that, I think we start laughing about if that was actually the call, or maybe that didn't happen on the air. Who knows?
Yeah, it's funny
from Z.
What?
I have that extra stuff.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Right after that call.
Let's hear it.
1 second.
All right.
You know what?
So that There's part of me that really wanted that to be the record.
You know what?
So that
I know,
lead-in of
I
the
know,
slop
I
had
know.
to be included.
I thought about
It
that
would've
too. I
been
was like, hurry up,
absolutely-
finish your thought. Finish your thought. Nobody
incredible.
cares if you can't stand chili.
No, I
just
care.
don't get why people line up for it.
That's amazing.
I care.
And I like that you brought back the slop.
Yeah.
Like you used the
So,
same word
like,
again.
that's at the 9:20 mark.
this is
like 9-minute mark.
the
of the
possession
fourth.
before.
Like, it happened moments later.
Yeah. That was the possession before, I think.
All right. He's going to join us next.
I think so.
We-
We're
we-
working through
We don't know
it.
where he is.
I don't
He
know.
was
He's
here.
in the building somewhere.
He's elusive.
Building? I thought he was going to be en route.
He's supposed to. He's got a
He's
flight
been here
at
all
6.
day.
I know,
that.
but I thought I saw him earlier. I thought he was en route to things. All right, so perhaps Mr. Siciliano will join us coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly. About 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, we're efforting Mr. Siciliano. I think he's still in the building.
He's elusive.
Yes, he's
bounding
finishing
around.
up some.
He's got
other
he's got
tapings.
a great many obligations.
Yeah.
It was. Did you see you saw the Sunday Night Football tribute thing they did with the Miles with all the calls?
Absolutely.
That was cool.
Do we have that anywhere? I think that would be cool.
You'd had to have been had it DVR'd or something because I didn't see him put it out anywhere.
They haven't put it out anywhere.
Yeah.
Was there a music bed underneath it? That might also be a problem.
I can't
in the days now where we are allowed to post things and not post things.
I can't recall if there was a music bed or not, but it was basically a kind of a potpourri of calls from this of sacks, Miles. Not all of them.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough time for that, I don't think, but it's probably like a minute, and it's various calls timed up with all the sacks. All the sacks are there, but the calls don't match all the sacks because you got to get through it relatively quickly. But it was really cool, really cool what they did.
That is cool.
Yeah,
they did a good job. I mean, I will say this. I don't know if you guys heard the comments from Zach Taylor and Jamar Chase after the game.
I talked about it this morning.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Especially the Zach Taylor.
Taylor was ridiculous.
All right.
Hey, buddy, you're lucky you're employed because your coach or your ownership can't afford a buyout.
Well, they don't pay people not to coach down there. But his so for the audience who isn't aware, Zach Taylor yesterday postgame went on like a 45-second kind of rant about how I'm trying to remember the quote that he had, the exact quote, but it was, we're playing our tails off or something.
We're playing for our lives.
Playing for our lives. That's right. That's it. Thank you, Gibby. We're playing for our lives. And then he goes on to 45 seconds about how they're trying to go tempo, get on the – I'm yelling at Joe. First of all, I'm like, you're not yelling at anything at Joe. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, you're yelling, like, get on the ball. It's like if you're not seeing the NFL, every time that there's a record, they stop it.
Yeah, they get the ball.
Every offensive record that's ever been broken, Peyton Manning, Favre, like all of those as they broke those all. Brady.
There's no way those guys
They all
weren't
stopped.
told that if it happens, we're pausing.
And maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't told in that meeting with the referees. I have a hard time believing that. But even if he wasn't, like that's common knowledge that when a all-time record breaks, they always stop it.
Correct.
For that. Yeah, he threw a fit about that. Jamar was a little bit more measured. He did mention that, like, I hope it later on in my career when I break records, I hope that they do that
They
for
will.
me, and they will, Jamar.
They will.
Don't worry about it. They will. They will hold those off for you. So, yeah, that was weird. I'll tell you that the next, as Mr. Haslam said earlier, next 120 days for us are critical.
Yeah.
The next few days and weeks and months, like what happens in this division? You think about what we just witnessed in the 2025 season, that the regular season just came to an end. How much of these characters in this division will all be around? What will this division look like? I mean, rumors of John Harbaugh. There was rumors yesterday in the advance of the Steelers-Ravens game that Tomlin was going to go to TV. Like the Rodgers scenario in Pittsburgh.
Schrager's talked about that a lot.
What is that going to be? Like, is there going to be a move? Like, what happens at that situation? Lamar was pretty vague about the future in Baltimore with John Harbaugh. Like, what does all that look like? And then in Cincinnati, do they just run this back and hope that their draft picks eventually hit? Like, meantime, Burrow's approaching
Duke
30.
Tobin's scheduled to talk to the media on Friday. No one can remember the last time Duke Tobin had like an end of the year press conference. I guess the Bengals are making him available.
Mike Brown talks once a year.
Yeah.
Preseason turtle soup. Duke Tobin, the only time you see him usually is combine. Like he usually does combine. And then he does that one too. He does the turtle soup preseason thing. He usually does that. But yeah, no, and then just on a Friday do it? Yeah. That's pretty wild. Yeah, it's very interesting. And who knows what happens in Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And obviously we've already made a massive change with the change at coach here. So there will these rosters are going to look different. These teams are going to look different. But I think the one thing that is, now that we have our playoff bracket, I know we'll talk about it more tomorrow, there is a little bit of that thing of I don't know what to do with my hands. Like an AFC postseason with no Mahomes, with no Lamar. I mean, if you go way back, no Burrow. And then obviously for a long time, no Brady, Manning, all of that. Like there was a lineage of guys. And then probably the worst Bills team that Allen has taken into this thing is probably this one. I mean, this Bills team is probably the worst. The Bills haven't won a road playoff game since like 92? Since they've won a road playoff game?
Yeah.
And they'll have to win 3 of them to get to the Super Bowl?
Isn't this the first? There's a crazy stat. The first AFC championship game that won't have Brady or Mahomes in it in like 15 years.
I think it's Brady, Mahomes, or Manning.
And that could go all the way back.
Way
to
back.
2000s.
Like early 2000s. Like one of those three.
Yeah.
In that long, because they've always been there.
That's why I do think it's going to be kind of
wild.
a fun tournament. It's pretty wide open.
Yeah, and even in the NFC, like as you look at that and you go, well, who's going to come out of this? Like I like the Rams' path. I like them being, from their perspective, being the 5 and going to Carolina, and then you you reseed because it's not a bracket, so you're going to reseed. So it depends. Obviously, they'll have to go on the road for most of it, unless there's a bunch of upsets. But at the same time, like. That the NFC is pretty wide open as well. And then the other thing that's crazy about the way that this ended up, like the idea that Sam Darnold went 14-3, 14-3 in back-to-back years.
Yeah.
On the scrap heap 2 years ago. Sent packing multiple organizations.
How about the fact that the quarterbacks with buys are Sam Darnold and Bo Nix?
At least Nix is a first-round pick with the team that drafted him.
True, but
you're right. You're right. And by the way, drafted him right after they had just signed Russell Wilson.
I'll take it even a step further. If you include the 1 and 2 seeds, it's Sam Darnold, Bo Nix, Drake May, and Caleb Williams.
3 of those guys are young pups, man.
Yeah. Then you go to the 3
Second-year
seeds,
players.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts, who's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Then you get Rodgers and Bryce Young.
Jeez.
Stafford, Stroud, Purdy, Allen, and Herbert Love. But it's kind of a wild.
I mean,
the top 4 seeded quarterbacks being Sam Darnold, Bo Nix, Drake May, and Caleb Williams.
We'll do our QB power rankings.
You could not have made if that was something that was a wagerable thing. Pick the 4. Nobody would have gotten that right
at the beginning of the year.
Yes, no.
And only Hurts and Purdy are non-first round picks, right? Do I have that right based on what you just did?
First round.
Hurts was second.
First round.
And obviously Purdy was the last pick in the draft.
Yeah, and you've got, Bryce Young's number 1 overall. Stafford's 1 overall. Darnold was 2 overall. Caleb Williams is 1 overall.
Drake May was 4.
Drake May was
or 3.
3. Lawrence is 1 overall. Stroud's 2 overall.
Allen
was what?
Herbert was top 10.
Allen
was top 10.
Allen was top 10. Rodgers was in the 20s. And then you have the outliers of Love was in the 20s.
Yeah.
And then you have the outliers of Purdy and those will be the only non-first rounders.
I mean,
there's a direct correlation here, kids.
We talked to Jim Nance before Browns Steelers.
That was great. It's great.
And he was like,
we never talked about that. Was that because of the holiday and all that stuff? Is that why?
So I had reached out.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything because
he's Jim
it's
Nance
holidays
and he's busy.
Yeah. I'm like probably with his kids. I'm not going to bother him. I'm good. He comes into our booth 10 minutes before we get the broadcast. It was like, I just want to apologize. You know, I thought I messaged you and thought I let you know, like, to come find me. He goes, totally on me. I turned off my mentions and everything. Yeah. Well, at least he's not carrying Chili Mac. And he was talking. He said, I don't remember the last time I didn't do a Chiefs playoff game. That's all I've done is the number 1 seed.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So it's always been the Chiefs. G-Man, you want to help?
I mean, that's...
he's going to die over here.
Yeah, because he's done, since Mahomes has been a starter, he's only done Chiefs playoffs games. Yeah.
So he has Jags-Bills Sunday.
So they view that. The Bills they view as America's team then.
I think so.
That'll be the storyline that everybody gloms onto, is the Bills are the storyline.
Look at this guy.
This is going to be the shortest Siciliano segment of all time. This is going to be a
Siciliano. We're going to have you on later in the week to punish you.
We have 3 minutes left in the program.
You have 3 minutes.
So, you plugged in?
I don't like the chili. How are you guys?
Good. It was great. We played it all.
Great.
It was awesome.
It's great. Slop. I loved it.
It is.
I agree with you. I think it stinks.
Here's what I don't get.
I had it once, and I was like, I don't understand.
Look at Siciliano, Caden.
Ooh, wow.
I just
we didn't have time to get it.
That's
adjusted,
a Barbara
so
Walters, a little bit of Barbara
Walters.
Yeah, a
little soft light there.
Soft light on you. Soft focus. You look great.
Right there. I need some makeup. I look pale as all.
Look at the pose.
I don't get why people line up for it. Like, Nathan and I choose to not eat at halftime in Cincinnati. I don't get why people choose to eat it.
It's the same reason that if you throw XX T-shirts at any crowd, people will fight over the T-shirt at a sporting event because it's free.
Double X or XL?
Either way, it's usually XL. It's usually an XL.
It's usually I get screwed on that.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Nobody's an XL.
No.
They People will fight over it with those any basketball, baseball game. You throw it,
2 minutes.
People go nuts,
especially out of a T-shirt can.
That's right.
Let me. We have to do.
I know.
We got a couple. I just real quick because I know we'll talk to you probably later in the week or whatever.
We are going to talk to him later.
When it comes time to have a historic call, you had one.
Oh God. I thought you were going to ask me about Kevin. Sure. I like that. I like that everyone seemed to like it. I guess that's the best way for me to say it. You just don't want to screw them up. The most important thing to me was that like it was clean and we saw it, and it wasn't one of those ones where like, oh, is it a half sack?
Yeah.
Who are they going to give it to? Did Mason Graham touch him down first? Right? Are we going to have to wait for a half-hour scoring decision?
Yeah,
Something
right.
like that. I'm just happy it was clean. I was happy because Nathan and I were talking. I'm sure you said this like during the break, during the fourth quarter at one point. Like, I don't know if he's going to get it.
Yeah, we were talking. It was nervy.
Yeah. So I'm glad he got it. It came at a great moment. Carrying him off, carrying Andre off as well. Like those were all.
So good.
Those were such cool moments. There are some other things that I had in my head that I kind of sort of wanted to say that I didn't. Because like they're celebrating. It's like it's not like stop talking. Like it's about them. Describe the action. They're jumping up and down. That is the story. Any other historical perspective I had in my head, like you can save that for another time.
Yeah, you crushed it, man. It's really cool.
You got it in there. You even got Al Bubba Baker in there.
Al Bubba Baker, yes.
Zagaroni half-lashade you.
Yeah.
I just said got him.
Al Bubba Baker, no, you were perfect. We both said got like that was.
Said kind of
I wanted your energy on that. That was perfect.
30.
Gibby was rolling his
Encourage him,
eyes.
Siciliano.
Okay, Gibby,
We're a
the one
team.
call. This was a team effort here. It was good.
Yeah.
Safe flight.
Thanks, bud.
Good seeing you, man.
Likewise.
Yeah.
See you guys soon.
We're back tomorrow and on to the off season. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns
Boy,
Daily,
are we.
850 ESPN Cleveland.